I already got a comment on Twitter asking no rating. I'm gonna read all the books you tell me to, but then I'm not gonna tell you what I rated them. So there are a couple of types of books that I don't like to rate. Oh boy, am I nervous about today's video. I don't know what is wrong with me. It feels so weird telling you numbers when the whole plan was to not do this. Let's cut right to the chase. Hi, my name is Lala, and I suck at reviewing books. Not only do I suck at reviewing books and talking about books, the good and bad qualities of a book, the literary merit of a book. Most times I can't even remember the plot or the characters, but I also suck at rating books. My rating scale has become really skewed over the years, and I don't even understand my own ratings. And yet, I rely on my ratings a lot of the time to drive home to you how I felt about a book, because I so poorly explain to you my feelings about a book. I've said it before, but my greatest strength and my greatest weakness as a person is my ability to argue any side of any argument ever. I just, as a human, am not very strong in my convictions. I don't have a lot of strong opinions, or at least strong opinions that I believe everybody should also have, which is why when I'm reviewing books, I often tell you the reasons you might not like a book that I liked, or you might still love a book even if I didn't love it. I try to give you both sides, which isn't what most people want with a book review, apparently. So in my reviews, I blabber on about everything and anything, and then I rely on that numerical rating to tell you how I actually felt about the book. I don't know that I imply my rating by my review. I think a lot of times you could watch a review, and if I didn't give you the number, like, you either wouldn't know what I rated it or would wrongly guess what I rated it because I'm so poorly spoken. But my number is so skewed too, because sometimes I rate a book higher than I personally enjoyed it because I know that other people will enjoy it, and I don't want my number out there ruining someone else's chances of loving a book. So what some people might do, and what a lot of people have done, is make discussion videos about ratings and about their rating scale and about why we rate books and should we even rate books. I don't do discussion videos here. I do experiment videos here. I'm gonna link down below some great discussions about rating books. And what I'm gonna do for the next, how many days are there in April? 31 days? Is I'm not gonna rate the books that I read. I don't know how this is gonna go because I've never tried to do this before. So my intent is that I don't even have a rating in my head. I think there's two levels to this. One level is I'm not even gonna rate it in my head. I'm just gonna read books and have feelings about books and tell you my feelings about books and not give it a score. There's a lot of things that I hope this does for my reading and my reviews. The other level of this is not telling you my rating, because I feel like part of me will still have a number in my head just naturally. Maybe I'll get it out of my system. Maybe I'll never rate books again. I don't know how this is going to turn out. But if I do have a number in my head, I'm not going to tell you. And it's an experiment. I guess you watching this, it's already over. It's already been happening for a month and you may have already noticed. But it's just kind of an experiment for my channel. For my social media, to see how you guys react to me not rating anything. If you notice, how you feel about it, how you feel about me. And you know what, even if your comments are negative, they can't be more negative than the comments I'm already getting about how poorly I am reviewing and rating books. Here's what I hope to come of this. I hope that my reviews get better. I've said before, in response to the comments about how I don't review books well, I've said that I'm never gonna be the type of booktuber who has a script and has well thought out, like a already written review, and then it's just kind of reading it to you. I just like to sit down casually, like a friend, and talk about my feelings. And if that's not your jam, that's totally fine. That's just not how I prefer to talk about books. I don't mind my pauses and ponderings of what I'm gonna say next. I'm not gonna be the fast edited, quick jump cut, like straight to the point scripted. That's not gonna happen. But I could definitely be more thoughtful, more eloquent, I think, with my words. But Lala, couldn't you just keep your number and also try to be more well-spoken? Sure, but that wouldn't make an interesting video. All right, I have officially completed my first book in the month of April. It's The Missing Years by Lexi Elliott. I took a photo of it. I made an aesthetic board for it. So I'll be doing posts on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads with my review. Or Instagram and Goodreads will get my review. Twitter will just be the title and the aesthetic. Honestly, my fear is that without the rating being added on all three of these platforms, they won't even look like reviews. Because traditionally, I think it grabs your attention because you see my little star emoji and it implies that I've completed the book and this is my review. I post a lot of pictures of books when I receive them. My goal is to post it when I get it and then post it when I'm reviewing it. And I fear that like it won't even look like a review. It won't grab your attention. Okay, it's been a little bit. I've been going about my day and now I'm having time to sit down and actually post everywhere. So I took about 5 minutes to write up a review. I'm trying to remind myself even how to write a review. Reading most other people's, they throw in like quotes from the book and they kind of explain the plot and then what they enjoyed. Some reviews just explain the plot and don't even share an opinion. I guess there's lots of different ways to write a review. I'm gonna start with the way that I'm most comfortable, which is like bullet points of what I liked in it. So if this was any other day, I mean, this is what my review would have looked like. But today, this is what my review looks like. And now I am actually in that relief place because I feel like I'm saying all these great things that I loved about it so much. But then I'm also having to mention a couple things that I didn't love or I wanted more from, which I think implies that it wasn't the perfect thriller for me, which is a good thing. I think my review should be able to stand alone without a number and you should still get a vibe for whether or not I liked it or I think you might like it. And now I'm gonna move on to my next book and let you know if anybody notices anything about my review or feels any type of way. I just had the very first person notice my lack of rating. So Twitter and Instagram, I actually didn't get as much like interaction as I normally get on a review. So I think my theory that the star grabbing someone's attention is accurate. But on Goodreads, someone named Ashley just said no star rating. So tomorrow is Dewey's 24-hour read-a-thon in which I will be reading between 3 and 5 different books and not saying a rating. So today is Dewey's 24-hour read-a-thon. So I'm posting like probably 5 different reviews today. In such a short read-a-thon, I'm not going to take the time to sit down and write out reviews, but I'm at least doing my Twitter aesthetics. So I read The Test by Sylvan Neuvel, which I loved and thought was absolutely perfect. So I made a little aesthetic. It's really hard to do aesthetic boards and review books that are only like 100 pages long, which is all I'm reading today. The next book is Elevation by Stephen King. And I already got a comment on Twitter asking no rating. So Elevation also pretty much perfect. I understand why people don't love this book, but it totally worked for me. So the only downside so far to this no rating thing is that I can't post a review because it would just be blank. When in the past, if I didn't really have anything to say about a book, I would just post the rating on Goodreads and not really care about providing a little blurb. But right now, if I just posted that, I would just say read with no rating and no review, which like wouldn't give anybody anything. So that's the only downside, is that my reviews are a little delayed. All right, so Dewey's 25 readathon is over and I'm about to post my vlog in which I read 4 books. So far this month I've put up 2 videos, but in them I haven't discussed thoughts on books or reviews. So this is the first video on my channel this month where it's apparent, I think, that I'm not reading books, and I feel like I'm gonna get some comments on it. But I feel like I put in the effort to express how much I loved these books in my reviews and in the video, so you should be able to tell that these are 4 and 5 stars. And does it really matter? Is there a significant difference between 4 and 5 enough that that number is going to make an impact on whether or not you pick it up based on my recommendation? I don't know, I'm stressed. But I'll let you know what people think, or what you think. You're the people. Oh God. I've read my first book of the month that I'm struggling to decide if it's a 4 or 5 star. And I'm really excited that I don't have to pick and I don't have to announce a number. So that's You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno. This is my favorite book by Katrina Leno, and I gave the last book I read from her, Summer of Salt, like 4.5 stars. So just by default, because I know that it was even better than that, that's just like my first instinct. My first instinct isn't a rating, it's a comparison of an author's previous work. That naturally makes me say like, okay, well then it has to be a 5 star. Like if it's better than a 4 star, it's a 5 star. However, I think this book could have been better, and it's not something that will land in like my favorite books of all time list. So maybe it's an issue of like me taking my 5 stars too seriously, because I made that like favorite books of all time video and people were like, how do you have 100 favorite books? And in my mind it's like, if something got a 5 star, that is a favorite book of all time. Like how do you decipher between which 5 stars are your favorite? All of my 5 stars are equal, essentially, more or less, because they're all 5 stars, they're all my favorite, they're all the best, perfect books for me. So then like I want to give it a 4.75, which is a really obnoxious rating, and I hate having to pick a decimal point. Like, why isn't it 4.88? Like, I don't know. And then on Goodreads, you have to round up or down. And people have like come at me before about rating something down as opposed to up. Because technically if something is a 4.5, a 4.75, it should be rounded up to a 5. That's how rounding works. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't want people to see a 5 star, because that implies that this is like a favorite book ever, perfection, when it wasn't. It was a 4.75. So I almost always round down with my ratings, which doesn't make mathematical sense, but makes sense in that if I rated something a 3.5, I don't want people to think I gave it a 4. I'd rather them think I gave it a 3 and under promise. All I know is that people are definitely noticed my lack of ratings now, and I'm at the point where like, am I supposed to answer? Like, do I tell you like I'm doing this for a video? No. Do I tell you that I'm just not in the mood to rate anymore? Which is true. Or do I just ignore it and everyone will realize it's for a video? Hi. I know you noticed. Though the thing with not having to share my ratings, at least on Twitter where it's not accompanied by a review, is I can always tag the author. When if I rate anything under a 4, I don't tag the author, because I just don't think it's necessary or nice to grab someone's attention just to say like, hey, I didn't like the thing you created. Anyway, those are my thoughts today. The next video I'm posting is a Trash My TBR, where I have you all tell me what books I should read from my closet that I'm planning on getting rid of, and I'm gonna read 3 of those books in a week span. And I'm a little nervous about posting like the finale to that because I'm gonna read all the books you tell me to, but then I'm not gonna tell you what I rated them, which is a little nerve-wracking. All right, I'm just getting ready to film a 3 thriller review, which will be the first time I'm doing an actual like proper review during this don't give ratings challenge. Oh, I should also mention I read The Missing Season. I just finished it, which is the 3rd thriller I've read, which is why I'm doing this video. And this, I'll go ahead and just tell you that I gave it a 2. Like, I can't ignore the fact that I have rated this in my head and it's a 2. But in filming this video, I hopefully can rely on my words to express to you why I didn't like it without having to give you a number, which is going to be especially weird in this context because I always start my thriller reviews being like 2-star, 2-star, 4-star. Let's get into it. Since the video will be lacking that, I'm actually going to give spoilers for all of these books. Not actually because I'm not giving you ratings, but because people have requested me to discuss, especially this one, like more at length. But I feel like maybe it's a good compromise. The only weird part about this video is I read this last month and I already gave you a rating. So in this video, do I tell you my rating for this and then weirdly not tell you my ratings for these, or do I just pretend ratings don't exist in this video? So we're in the last third of the month and I just finished The Chalk Man. I loved this so much and I don't know what I would rate it if I was giving it a rating. I've kind of just like started to ignore even thinking about what I would rate a book. It's freeing, really. I would rate it pretty high though, so I just have to think of how I'm going to express that to people. There's a lot of different little challenges for myself within this, and I thought one of them might be if I read like a new favorite book and how I would express to you how much I loved a book without giving it 5 stars. But so far I haven't really had to deal with that. Oh boy, am I nervous about today's video. So a week ago I posted an unhaul video where I showed you 35 books that I was gonna get rid of, and I let you convince me of 3. Those books were Hate List and The Chalk Man and Challenger Deep. And today I'm posting my update vlog where I read the books and I tell you about them, except I don't give you a rating. And I feel like this is just the biggest betrayal because any other time that I didn't share a rating this month, it doesn't really matter because it's not like a big deal. But you specifically wanted my thoughts on these 3 books and I'm not giving you the number that you want. I just think people are going to definitely notice at this point that I have stopped giving books ratings. All right, I'm just getting ready for work and I'm gonna check in on last night's video. I really think we're just at the point that I am realizing that I overestimated how much you care. I don't think anybody even cares that I'm not reading books. One person said like, okay, so what did you rate these books? There's a week left in the month and I've read everything that I guess I needed to read, really wanted to read. Like I'm done my challenges and my arcs that have already come out. And I think I could probably read like 2 or 3 more books. And I was thinking, like, let's put a focus on books that I actually don't like rating. So I gain something from this. So there are a couple of types of books that I don't like to rate, and I'll explain them to you. The first one is nonfiction. Memoirs, like, I hate rating because I always feel like I'm rating the person's life, even though I try to rate based on like how the book is written. I just always feel weird about rating nonfiction. Even non-memoirs, like anything really, like wellness related. It's like, how do you rate it? if you gained something from it, if you think other people would gain something from it. So I'm currently reading a nonfiction, Girl Code, which I wasn't even going to really tell you about because it's like a book for work that I'm reading to talk about with our distributors, but I might as well include it like in my wrap up. So I'm halfway done that and looking forward to not having to give it a number. Next, I hate rating middle grade, just because obviously I'm not middle grade age, and I can give you all of like the reasons that I do read middle grade, but having to rate it is always weird because it's not obviously my age range. So am I rating it based on like my enjoyment of a book for 11-year-olds? Like, I just don't know how to make an objective rating. So for that, I actually have a bunch of May arcs sitting here that I figured I would start on because I have so many May arcs. The one middle grade I have is The Wise and the Wicked by Rebecca Potus. So I'm going to try to read that this week. Another thing I hate rating is books by like community members or authors that are really part of the community. To be honest, this is probably why I don't accept a lot of self-published stuff, is because there's something about reading a book and having the person know that you're reading their book, or having the community know that you're reading another member of the community's book. Because when you rate it in the end, there's no like winning. If you rate it really high, it's just because like you know the author, or it's like a fellow booktuber and you're trying to be all up their ass, or because you're friends with somebody and you obviously like your rating is gonna be biased. And then if you rate it low, it's like you're just trying to be the unpopular opinion, or you're just trying to hate on someone in the community. Or I don't appreciate the narrative that's like, if you give a popular book a low rating, you are the only honest one. People are always like, oh, thanks for your honest review. Just because everyone else gives a glowing review doesn't mean their opinion is less valid because they actually enjoyed something that I didn't. I actually genuinely want to read this, but I'm not looking forward to having to rate it just because of the outward response to my rating, regardless of which way I sway. However, this is a bold choice to post reviews of that book and not give it a rating. I don't know if you guys will be mad. And then the last type of thing that I hate to read is a book that I have previously hyped without having read. Sometimes there are books coming out that I just feel so passionate about that I promote and I tell people to pick it up and to read it because it sounds so interesting and so intriguing. And then if, knock on wood, I end up not liking that book, I have to tell everyone that I didn't like that book. And this book that I've basically like encouraged everyone else to pick up isn't actually worth it. So with that said, I think I'm gonna read Middle Game this week. This is a big book, so I don't know if I can fit all of these, but that one would be pretty difficult, but a relief to not have to give you a number for. I feel the same about Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Like, I'm so obsessed with that book before I've even read it. What if I read it and I absolutely hate it? So I think I'm starting Again But Better first. So I'll let you know what I think about it. Okay, I know that authors write based on their personal, you know, experiences and personality, and especially in their first book, you know, they write themselves into their books a lot. But this character is literally Christine. She has a blog called French Watermelon 19. Like, okay. Reading update, just because I'm not vlogging the last couple books of the month that I'm reading, I thought it'd be fun to update you. Halfway through, and I did not like the first half. I just finished Again But Better, and now I need to write my review on Again But Better, and I need to figure out how to do it the way that I would discuss any other book and not have a bias kind of viewpoint on it because I didn't like this book. I was hoping I would like it. I thought maybe I would like it, but didn't go where I kind of wanted it to go. The results weren't what I kind of assumed they were. I shouldn't have assumed anything, but I was hoping for something different. Anyway, this whole video is gonna get so long if I include my actual thoughts on all of these books. But I guess I'm glad I don't have to give it a number. And I'm gonna move on to my next book because I need to read something else. And there's only a couple days left in the month. So Middle Game, Sean McGuire. Let's see if we can get it done in a couple days. I hope I love that book because that's the one that I've been hyping so much and I just feel like I'm gonna love. It's another Monday morning. I'm just getting ready for work, and like 4 hours ago when I went to sleep, I posted a couple of reviews on Goodreads. One of them being for Again But Better. I feel like I tried to be especially thorough with that one because I like don't want to talk about my feelings on that book because I don't want to feel like I'm bashing the book, and I don't want to feel like there's this controversy about a booktuber rating other booktuber's book. Anyway, so I just got all my feelings out. I made 2 positive points and I think I made 5 negative points. So I think I did do a good job of explaining my rating without rating it. I got 1 comment referencing the rating. It just said, how much would you rate this book? So I think I did fine at explaining. But all right, I think I've figured out my issue. So my reviews and videos have been sitting for a little while now to gain comments and opinions and reactions. And I think that I've had a little bit of a breakthrough with my rating scale. So I'm gonna be really long-winded for a minute. When am I not? And then I'll explain my realization. So I'm actually gonna share 2 ratings with you, which I didn't think I would do going into this. I didn't think I would even have ratings, and for some books I don't. But these 2 books I do have very clear ratings for. They both happen to be thrillers, and the 2 thrillers that I read this month. So they're The Chalk Man and The Missing Years, which this book got a 4.5, and this was a 4.25, which feels weird saying out loud. However, they are being interpreted as 5 stars in my head. The way that the response is coming in makes me feel a little stressed. The way that I pitched these books is that these are my 2 favorite thrillers of the year, which they are, because I've only rated 1 thriller this year 5 stars, and that was My Lovely Wife. And I rated 1 other 4.5 stars, and that was Come Find Me. So of the 11 thrillers that I've read so far this year, these are in the 3rd and 4th place, which is high on my rating scale. However, they are not my favorite thrillers of all time. They're not the best thrillers I've ever read, and I'm worried a little bit because you take my thriller recommendations so seriously compared to any other genre. I'm now a little stressed out because the feedback has been so like, oh my god, okay, I have to read it. If Kayla recommends it, I have to read it. And yes, I do recommend them, and yes, I gave them 4.25 stars. They are my favorites of the year. I don't think these are like the greatest thrillers of all time, and I'm a little worried that that's how my reviews came off now. And no, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. So I've realized with my rating scale that I view 1 and 2 star as like the same thing. And I kind of see 4 and 5 star as the same thing, which is why I think I only give out decimal points in the 4s. I don't know if anyone's really noticed that, but I noticed that about my reading is sometimes I do it for 3s, but in the 4s, I give out 4.25, 4.5, 4.75, because 4 and 5 are so close in my head that I feel like giving that point decimal value just like really helps drive home that it wasn't a 5 star. I don't know if that probably makes absolutely no sense. But this is why I give out so many 3 stars. So many books are just, it's easy to just dish out a 3. It's like, it was average. I don't know. Like, I read it front to back. I wasn't upset by it. 3. But technically, like, an average book should get a 2.5. But 2 in my head is so harsh because I feel like a 1 and a 2 are interchangeable. I know they're not. I know I shouldn't think this way. But in previous reviews, like if I gave it a 1, I hated it. If I gave it a 2, I hated it. That's why it's so hard for me to pick my least favorite books at the end of the year. Because like, I don't know, 1s and 2s are like, they're the same. And then 4s and 5s are pretty much the same. I don't know what is wrong with me. So that's just something that I was thinking about and I need to think about further and kind of fix my rating scale. So many people make videos about how they rate books and I've never watched one of them because I don't understand. I'm assuming it's like a 3-star is when I like some elements and don't like some elements. But like, isn't that all books? Basically, I only give out 5s if a book was perfect. So then a 4-star is books that you would change, you know, 1 or 2 little elements. So to me, a 3, you know, 1 step lower than that is a book that you had like no angry feelings about, but you didn't enjoy. And then a 2 and a 1 is like sucky ass books. But I guess a 2 should be books that you didn't like. And a 3 should still be books that I enjoy. If I had to go back and rate a whole bunch of books based on that conclusion, 50% of the 3 stars I gave out would probably actually be a 2. And then that will help me not decimal point my 4s and I can just give out a confident 4. Because to me, okay, if I enjoyed a book, it's getting between a 3.5 and a 4.5. That's it. That's 1 star for enjoyment and then half a star for perfection. And then I have 1, 2, 3 and a half stars for books that I didn't like. Okay, my rating scale is so messed up. If I continue to read books, I mean, oh my God, if I continue to read books, what a Freudian slip. If I continue to rate books after this challenge, which I still haven't decided, I have to think harder about my rating scale. Fun. So a way that I think, sorry, I'm sick. This is the last video of the month, my wrap up, where I'm going to talk about like whatever 13 books and not give a rating for any of them. I think something that I'll do moving forward, just in general, is what I used to do when I would give like a specific thing or things that I liked and then didn't like about each book. Because there are certain books that I've reviewed where I can only think of the positive things to mention. Then I give it like a 3 or 4 star and you guys are probably like confused. So I think that will especially help in this wrap up where I'm not giving ratings if I give some examples for every single book. But that's something that I do plan to carry forward in the future. I'm so sick. I feel awful. I'll talk to you when this video goes up. So we're at the end of the experiment. I just broke my lamp before sitting down to film this. So that's how my day's going. So I put up my final video and I'm gonna check if anybody cared about my lack of rating. Oh, all right, Hannah Davidson. I noticed you're not giving out star ratings for these. Is this something you're consciously trying to move away from? Yes, Hannah. With 34 likes. Okay, so people notice. Hi. Oh, Vivian Florence said, okay, did I miss something or is this some kind of project that she didn't rate any for April reads? Please, Lola, explain. Oh, and then 4 responses. I think it's because she didn't want to rate again but better. So she didn't rate anything. Oh my God, if I had planned that far ahead because I didn't want to rate again but better, that's even too much for me. Am I the only one who's noticing that Lola isn't giving any stars to the book she finished? Weird. Just one comment that says, ratings? I'm a little concerned because there were no star ratings, even on your Goodreads account. I don't like it because when I look at ratings to pick up a new book, a Lola 5-star is an easy and definite pick. Now picking up between this is good and this is also good lengthens the decision-making process. Should I read the review again for the third time? You know what I mean. Sure. So I am a little concerned though that you take my 5 stars so seriously, because there are lots of books that I give a 4-star that could be a 5, and other people, if reading that book and feeling the way I felt about that book, would rate it a 5. So I did like this experiment because it forced me to write better reviews, explain my feelings better, and come up with positives and negatives about every single book I read. I also kind of like the fact that you have to actually think about why I liked a book rather than just seeing a 5-star, because we could still have totally different opinions on a book. Maybe there's a certain quality that you wouldn't like, but you just saw the 5-star because maybe I like that quality. And if you actually knew my full thoughts and had to really delve into my full thoughts, you would know better if it was for you. So actually, you know what I've just concluded? That I think this experiment wouldn't truly be completed without knowing if I did a good job. So I'm going to rate all of these books right now and tell you my rating, and then you can tell me if you assumed that rating or not. And that will conclusively tell me if I well expressed that this was 5 stars. I think I did, though the only way that I could really drive home that it was a 5-star was by saying this is a new favorite book of all time, because how else can I explain it? This was also 5 stars, but I think you knew that. I used the word perfect. I think that implies 5 stars. Same with this. Same with this. Actually, you know what also has helped? That I didn't have to immediately tell you a star, and I had a week or 3 or 4 to think about it, because this is a 5-star. When I first finished it, I think I would have given it 5 stars, and then I read some more reviews, and that, in my mind, like, it was persuading me down. So if I had to rate it then, I probably would have given it a 4.5. And now I'm respecting my own initial feelings, and it's a 5-star. I think one book that I did not do a good job of was Girl Code, because I read it for something, like, not for myself. And so I didn't really take the time to explain to you everything about this. So I'm guessing you thought I gave this a 2 or a 3. I gave it like a 3.5. And then I already talked about my thoughts on these two, but I am interested to know if you thought either of these was a 5-star, because I kind of feel bad about that. This one is a difficult one, and I don't know if I expressed it perfectly, because I don't know if you thought this was a 5-star. I think you might, but it wasn't. It was a 4. See, I'm doing that thing where I want to put in decimal points when I shouldn't have to, because I should be strong in my convictions that this was a 4. I want to give it a 4.5. But if I'm readjusting my entire rating scale where 1 and 2 are no longer combined because what's wrong with me, this is a 4. I feel so weird telling you numbers when the whole plan was to not do this. Challenger Deep. My natural inclination is to give this a 3. But if we're readjusting my rating scale, I feel like it would be a 2? Old Lala would 100% give this a 3. But, oh my god, I feel sick. The hate list. Again, readjusting my rating scale. Old Lala, this was an easy 4. But I think now it's a 3. And then we have these 2 books, which in my mind were 2 stars. When I read them both, like I knew what they were, because they're so clearly 2 stars to me. But adjusting my rating scale I don't know. I'm having a crisis. I just feel like sick to my stomach with the idea of giving a book a 1 star. It makes me feel so uncomfortable and mean. Like, a book should never get a 1 star unless it did something so offensive and it was literally like unreadable, which is why I never give out 1 stars. But if I'm rethinking my entire rating scale, maybe these would be closer to a 1 than a 2. I can't say that. That's not. Whatever. 2 stars. Now that I'm sufficiently uncomfortable, I can say with confidence that my ratings are returning. This has changed things about my reading and reviewing routine. I will try harder to write out my thoughts for every single review. I will try to give positive and negative thoughts to every review, unless it was a full 5 star. And I will try to stop saying negative things about books that are a 5 star, because I don't know what's wrong with me, and I just want to tell you that you might not like a book even if I gave it a 5 star, because I don't want you to read a book and be like, wow, that bitch is nuts. So returning to my regularly scheduled reviewing with a bit of an improvement is 60% for me, it's 20% for you, and it's 20% for my engagement, because when reviews on any platform are accompanied not by stars, they don't get the same type of interaction and traction, which, as a social media manager, my day job, I get and respect and understand and cool. But just as a human, it hurts my heart a little bit that we just want everything spoon-fed to us. And I'm completely guilty of this. Don't think that I'm saying something about society without including myself. Because if my favorite reviewers stopped giving star ratings, I think I would lose my mind. I have a lot of takeaways from this. I hope that a takeaway for you maybe is to care equally about the review itself and the person's thoughts as much as you respect and notice the star rating. Everyone's rating scale is so different and personal to them, and especially if they've never explained it, like, you don't know. There are reviewers that I follow that give 5 stars to absolutely everything they read, and to me, I'm like, what? But how is, I can't trust you. But for all I know, what they're doing is for a specific reason that works for them. So let me know what you think about any of this, what you thought about my challenge, what you think about ratings. I'd love this to be a bigger discussion, even though I'm not the type of booktuber who does great discussion videos. I would still like to try to talk more about this. I'm sure there's so many other things that I can't even wrap my mind around that come with the rating system. Not to mention the entire 5-star rating system as a whole, because when did we start rating based on a 5-star scale? Like, is it because of Goodreads? Is that the best way to rate things? Why don't they give us half stars? Do you use half stars? Let's talk. I'm excited, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it the entire way through, you're fucking amazing, and I love you as a friend, and I'll see you later. Bye.